Hi, this is Piero Giorgio. We're still in New York, and actually, as you can see, we're near. We're on Ellis Island, and you can see next to us the Statue of Liberty, and behind the Verrazzano Bridge, and then it's the Atlantic all the way to my place, Europe. Anyways, we're here at Ellis Island, and that's where. Hey, that's the helicopter. I haven't done anything. Anyways, interesting place, because that's a place that sort of celebrates and shows how the immigration to this part of the United States throughout its history happened. And immigration is a very touchy subject, because for some people it's great, you have to always worship it and it's fantastic, and for other people it's the worst thing that can happen. It brings different people, foreigners, it's bad. Now if you look at it in a very cold and analytical point of view, well, what you can see is that it really depends on who is the immigrant, what they immigrate for, and what are the numbers. Now, of course, here in the United States, the whole country has been made of immigrants. Well, even the Indians, the American Indians, they eventually came from Asia a few thousands of years ago. And what's interesting is that the recent immigration that actually happened the last 2 centuries, so if we take the Irish, the Italian, the Chinese and Asian, and most recently the Middle Eastern and Latino immigration, well, what you actually see is that the numbers are increasing. And this is really something that I touch in my book, is that we're not anymore with numbers that are manageable. And it's the same across the Atlantic with Europe, where we used to have immigration from Southern Europe to North Europe. We used to have a little bit of immigration from Eastern Europe to Western Europe. And more in the last decade, we start to have massive amount of immigration from Africa, from the Middle East, and from Asia. Now again, is this good, is this bad? Well, it depends. A lot of the people who migrate, who are willing to take the chances to cross oceans, to cross deserts, to cross mountains, well, usually there are people who have a drive to succeed, who have a drive to work hard. Well, at least that's how most of them are. Now, the more a country is social, the more it gives benefits to new immigrants, well, probably the more it also reduces that drive to work hard and succeed. So that's a problem. Another element that is interesting about mass immigration is, once again, if you have 1% of immigrants that add to the population of one country, they probably mix pretty well, and they probably take the culture of the host country. If you have, however, 10% per year, or actually per year is probably an exaggeration, but if you have 10% over a decade, like it is the case in Norway and Sweden, or even now in France, where suddenly you have 10% of the country who's made of very different culture, people from different culture who have arrived very quickly in vast quantity, vast numbers, suddenly it's very hard to mold them into the culture of the host country. At best, you will modify the culture, and at worst is you have a completely separate people with separate culture living in a different way in one place. And this is a recipe for big trouble, because when the economy collapses or simply goes in trouble and there's a depression or a recession, well, then these differences become tensions, become sources of tension, become sources of conflict instead of bringing new ideas and innovation. I live in a country, Switzerland, which over history has had an extremely positive history with immigration. Switzerland has received a lot of French through the 16th, 17th century, which created the watch industry. Then the Southern European immigration, a lot of German immigration even before that, like companies you are well known of from Switzerland, such as Nestlé for chocolate, such as Roche, Ciba-Geigy for the chemicals, have been created by Germans. And more recently, Italians, Spanish, Southern European, Greeks, and so on. Little by little, they were they brought in a little bit of their culture, a little bit of their innovation, and at the same time they molded into the Swiss culture. Now, that worked because it wasn't many people and it was progressive. Now the question again for all of you people, whether you're in the United States, across Europe, in England, in Australia, wherever, is are you managing to get all these new people in the same culture? This is a fundamental question because the identity of your country is going to determine how you react when the economy is going to collapse. And when it will, if you have a culture that has the same identity, and I believe you can have one identity and that can be multiracial, for example. So race is less of a problem for me, the way I see it, than a multicultural community. Multicultural can bring disaster, can bring reactions of hate, can bring ethnic cleansing, can bring genocide perhaps. So we have to be very, very careful and to make a super strong effort to get the people together into one culture, into one set of values that can make everything work. So anyway, this place, Ellis Island, is a very interesting example because for some time the United States has had these tensions, and as it's very well described inside, since the beginning of United States immigration policies, there have been tensions, there have been people for it, people against it. But eventually, for some time, United States became one big culture. There is a strong sense of patriotism. There is one strong sense of value. If only making money, that's one value. And that is shared across most of Americans. Is this continuing? I honestly don't think so. I think, unfortunately, we are... United States of America has become a country that is so multicultural, with so many different cultures, that people will not stick together when disaster happens. That people will go for their own as individuals, but also go with their own community and perhaps their own culture and their own race, and this is going to be problematic. So I can only encourage you to work hard to make sure that within your communities, within your area where you live, your neighborhood, you make sure that you have the best possible cohesion, the best possible preparation, and that you help each other in times of difficult economic turmoil. Anyways, I tell everything in my book, Survive the Economic Collapse. If you want to know more, you can check my website, piero.com. And I'll see you soon in another video. Take care.